Hello, my name is Tristan Ashby from the Fire and Rescue Services Association, and this is number one in a series of video training packages aimed at our local officials. This particular video will focus on the subject of time off for trade union duties and activities. So to be able to take time off, paid or unpaid, for trade union duties or activities, the FRSA needs to be recognised by the local fire and rescue service. Now that recognition can take two different forms. It can be either purely and solely for consultation purposes, or it can be for consultation and negotiation. Negotiation is also referred to as collective bargaining. And once we have that recognition agreement in place, that provides a facilities agreement that allows time off for trade union duties and activities. So how do we obtain recognition if you haven't already got recognition in your service? Well, there are two different ways of achieving this. The first is through a agreement, and all of the recognition agreements we have within the Fire and Rescue Service up and down the country are all voluntary agreements. And you'll find that the same is for the FBU as well. They will be voluntary agreements. The alternative is a formal agreement, and that falls under the ICE regs, the Information and Consultation of Employees regulations. And that's a formal process that requires a minimum of 10% of the bargaining unit, i.e. 10% of the members that you have within that particular field of work, whether it be whole-time duty system, retained duty system, or Green Book employees, that you require 10% of that bargaining unit to vote and agree for a particular union to be recognised. But we don't need to worry about that. That's just some background information, as all of our agreements are under a voluntary agreement. One of the benefits of having a voluntary agreement is that the service are not forced into recognising the particular union. They actually want to engage and want to have dialogue and a formal relationship with the union on behalf of its members. It's the preferred option because both parties, both the employer, and in this case the Fire and Rescue Service, and the union, in this case the FRSA, both are willing to enter into an agreement of recognition. And that agreement is irrespective of the number of members that the particular union has. There are examples where we have been recognised having only one member because the local fire and rescue service were just really keen to get our involvement. We know very often why that is. That'll be because of the strained relationship they have with the FBU. They're unable to make any meaningful progress, and they want to have a relationship with another more forward-thinking, more progressive union that shares the values of the service in what they're trying to do. That has often been seen by services who wanted to get involved in co-responder schemes were making no headway with regards to the relationship they've got with the FBU. So by bringing another union on board, that allows them to form a collective agreement over a particular area of duty, so in this case corresponding, and that also allows us to increase our membership base. So with regards to a voluntary agreement, numbers are completely irrelevant. Numbers only become relevant with regards to the formal agreement. The ability to take trade union time off for duties and activities comes under a particular piece of legislation covered by the Trade Union and Labour Relations Act 1992. The relevant section for trade union duties is section 168, and for activities it's section 170. And further on in the video I will be covering the differences between trade union duties and trade union activities. There is a different piece of legislation with regard specifically to our health and safety representatives, and that legislation is the Safety Representatives and Safety Committees Regulations of 1977. The principle is exactly the same. Again, this is just background information to let you know that our health and safety reps are covered by a different piece of legislation, all but the legislation with regards to trade union duties and trade union activities performs exactly the same role. The key difference between trade union duties and trade union activities is that when undertaking trade union duties, you are allowed to claim for pay. So when you're undertaking trade union duties, you are paid for that time by your local fire and rescue service. You can be paid for undertaking trade union activities, but it is extremely rare and it is dependent on the relationship with your local fire and rescue service. To be able to distinguish between what is a trade union duty and what is an activity, the rule of thumb is that any duty relates to anything with regards to service interaction, whether you're being asked by the service to engage with them for consultation purposes or negotiation purposes, and that will be predominantly to do with the terms and conditions of our members. So here I have provided an example of the terms and conditions that you will be asked to be involved with by the service. This will also include matters of discipline and grievance. So if you're representing a member who may be either going through the disciplinary process, maybe part of a disciplinary investigation where he or she will be interviewed, not necessarily the subject of the disciplinary investigation, but act witness. And also if a member is seeking to go through the grievance process where they're looking to make a complaint within the service. So all of that is covered by trade union duties. So any work you undertake with regards to those matters will be covered under that particular piece of legislation, and you will be entitled to payment. In addition, any paperwork that you need to read, digest and respond to within the consultation process, that time can also be claimed under trade union duties. For our local officials who are solely on-call employees, the question has been raised in the past with regards to how you get paid. Now, the legislation provides an answer to this question with regards to anybody who's undertaking flexible hours, which on-call do. So the agreement will be, if you are undertaking any trade union duties, you will be paid the hourly rate for your role. That is irrespective as to whether you would have been on call at that time or at work at that time that you're undertaking trade union duty. Just going back to representing members at disciplinary or grievance hearings and interviews, it's really important that you have the time off to perform this function. Now, because fire and rescue services are predominantly run by HR, you will find that the service will call for these interviews and these meetings and these hearings during the day, 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. Now, that's not conducive to our on-call members, and it's not conducive to our on-call officials. You are well within your rights, if you are unable to take time off from your primary occupation to undertake the trade union duty, to request that that interview, meeting, hearing is rescheduled at a time that suits both yourself and the member. That may well be at a weekend, that may well be in an evening during the week, but it's really important that you make sure you are afforded the opportunity to represent our members at a time that suits both of you. If you come up against any resistance to that request, contact headquarters and we will intervene. So moving on to trade union activities. Now, these are activities that you will be afforded time off for, but you will not by default receive payment. Now, the activities predominantly relate to the work of the union in isolation, and not in connection with work undertaken as a result of any requests by your local fire and rescue service. So there will be branch meetings, annual general meetings, just general trades union discussion. So you will be afforded time off from your work. So you will be allowed, if you're normally on call, you will be able to attend those meetings. And while you don't receive payment, you will receive, for example, any credits for missed calls, so that you are not at a disadvantage by attending any trade union activities. As I said, by default, there is no payment for activities. However, depending on the relationship we have with the local fire and rescue service, we have managed to broker agreements whereby some payment will be provided for 2 hours per year to either station reps or local officials to undertake annual general meetings. So it's definitely not the case that you will never be entitled to payment, but it is extremely rare, and it is dependent on the relationship between the FRSA and the local fire and rescue service. So looking back at the facilities agreement, the facilities agreement will provide detail as to what resources are available to the FRSA from the local fire and rescue service, in addition to the details with regards to payment. So the resources available could make up a number of different things, but certainly should include the ability to use communication equipment, telephone, email, IT, computers, etc. There should also be the opportunity to book out rooms for meetings. That could include using stations for annual general meetings, branch meetings, etc. One of the key resources that is really helpful is the use of notice boards. And every workplace, whether that be a station, headquarters, training centre, etc., should have a notice board facility. And irrespective of whether you've got any members on, let's say, a particular fire station, you still have the opportunity to populate a section of a notice board with our recruitment information, bulletins, any of the literature that we publish, and any of the literature that you would expect to find on a fire station where we do have members. It's really to make sure that that information is included within every notice board, and it's really important that that information is as up to date as possible. Just one word of caution with regards to using service email. You fall under exactly the same rules and regulations with regards to what you publish. While as a local official you are protected within a number of particular areas in terms of the and the activities and the role that you perform, you are still an employee. So if you are providing any illicit material, any major criticism of the service via the local IT systems, you will be taken to task by the service. So the rule of thumb is that anything that you would say on an email is the same as what you would say in public. So long as it's professional, so long as it's factual, then you should be able to use the service IT system without any worry or concern. The facilities agreement will also include the logistics of how time off for trade union duties or activities is taken, the logistics for how payment is claimed, if there's any disagreements with regards to taking time off that's refused, or any queries with regards to payment. The facilities agreement should include how all those matters are dealt with. If they're not, then I would suggest you contact headquarters and we can provide you with a good practice document from another service that contains all that relevant information. So that hopefully has provided you with some background information to trade union duties and activities. I don't believe that we will have covered every question that you have, um, but don't forget there are a huge amount of resources out there. We've got our network of local officials that are on hand through the WhatsApp group. Headquarters is always here and available to you. You can contact us via email or on the telephone. There's lots of resources on our website, and we've also created a representative handbook that should also provide a lot of background information and answers to questions that you may have. But if you've got any concern, any question, you can either raise it through our network of local officials and national officials within the WhatsApp group, or contact headquarters directly, and we will be able to provide you with support and answers to your questions. We are here to help, and we are always grateful to our local officials for the job that they do. If you've not done so already, please do have a look at the other training videos that are available to our local officials. We hope you find them informative. If there is any particular subject that we've not covered that you would think that would be beneficial to both yourself and local officials, do contact our FRSA headquarters and let us know, and we will be more than happy to put something together for you. In the meantime, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Take care and see you soon.